Campaign of Catastrophe, the story of the USS Indianapolis. By Jesse Puckett, John Fritz, and Jennifer Fritz. The USS Indianapolis was home to the world's first operational atomic bomb. The cruiser was directed to prepare for the invasion of Japan when it was attacked by a Japanese I-58 submarine. Background information. The time period that the Indianapolis was part of was mainly World War II. Franklin Roosevelt was the primary president, mainly in office. The USS Indianapolis was transporting an atomic bomb known as Little Boy to a military base near Japan. This bomb would then be applied to Hiroshima, a city in Japan. Motives. The reason why the United States attacked Japan was Pearl Harbor. During World War II, Japan attacked a military base known as Pearl Harbor in Hawaii to prevent the United States from interfering with the military actions which Japan was planning against enemies. After the attacks, the U.S. declared war on Japan. In Harm's Way, The Sinking of the USS Indianapolis and the Extraordinary Story of Its Survivors, by Doug Stanton. On July 16, 1945, the USS Indianapolis departs San Francisco with top-secret cargo, the atomic bomb known as the Little Boy. July 26, 1945, atomic bomb was delivered to Tinian Island near Guam. July 28, 1945, the USS Indianapolis departs Guam for Leyte in preparation for the invasion of Japan. July 30, 1945, the USS Indianapolis is hit by two Japanese torpedoes at 12:05 a.m. The ship is sunk at 12:17 a.m. July 31, 1945. Schools of sharks begin daily attacks on the survivors afloat in the Philippine Sea. When the USS Indianapolis fails to arrive in Leyte, it is noted as overdue. August 1, 1945. USS Indianapolis is once again marked as overdue. No other action is taken. August 2, 1945. Navy pilot Chuck Gwynn, on a routine sub-hunting patrol, accidentally spots a group of survivors about 80 miles from the sinking site. One of World War II's largest sea rescue missions begins. August 3, 1945. The last of the survivors of the USS Indianapolis are pulled from the water. August 6, 1945. The atomic bomb is dropped on Hiroshima. August 14, 1945. President Truman declares the end of World War II. The crew. Only 316 survived. When the cruiser was hit in the Philippine Sea, 300 men went down with the ship. There were 1,196 men on board. The remaining 900 were left clinging to shrapnel in the sea for 4 days. Many died of dehydration. When the remainder of the crew was finally rescued, only 316 survived.
This is actual film footage of the Indianapolis rescue. Tiny groups of survivors are separated by miles of featureless ocean. Some rafts are found with nobody in them.
A survivor's words. Passage from Lewis L. Haynes' account of the sinking of the USS Indianapolis. On July 29th, I was pretty tired because I had given the whole crew cholera shots all day. I remember walking through the warrant officer's quarters and declining to join a poker game as I was so tired. I then went to bed. I awoke. I was in the air. I saw a bright light before I felt the concussion of the explosion that threw me up in the air, almost to the overhead. A torpedo had detonated under my room. I hit the edge of the bunk, hit the deck, and stood up. Then the second explosion knocked me down again. As I landed on the deck, I thought, I've got to get out of here. I grabbed my life jacket and started to go out the door. My room was already on fire. I emerged to see my neighbor, Ken Stout. He said, "Let's go," and stepped ahead of me into the main passageway. I was very close to him when he yelled, "Look out," and threw his hands up. I lifted the life jacket in front of my face and stepped back. As I did, a wall of fire went whoosh. It burned my hair off, burned my face and the back of my hands. That's the last I saw of Ken. The Captain, Charles Butler McVeigh III. Captain McVeigh was the captain of the USS Indianapolis. Under his leadership, the cruiser was successful in many battles. The day in which the ship was torpedoed was because of human error on the United States' side. The naval authorities had prior knowledge about a submarine lurking in the cruiser's path, yet they failed to notify McVeigh. After the disaster occurred, McVeigh was court-martialed because of failure to abandon ship in orderly fashion and because of the fact that he failed to zigzag in good visibility. Zigzagging is a maneuver in which a sea vessel moves in a way such that torpedoes cannot hit it. After the trial, McVeigh was found guilty. It is often speculated that McVeigh was used as a scapegoat, taking blame for the mistakes of others. The naval authorities failed to provide McVeigh with alerts, notifying him that a submarine lurked in the Indianapolis' path. In fact, in court, the commander of the Japanese I-58 submarine even defended McVeigh as being innocent. Specifications. Quantitative details. The ship was 610 feet long and weighed 9,800 tons. It was powered by 8 White Forester-type boilers and 4 sets of geared Parsons turbines, which powered 4 propellers which were incorporated into the plant that powered the USS, generating 7,000 horsepower. The Indianapolis had a surface displacement of 11,574 tons and cruised with a speed of 32.7 knots, or about 38 miles per hour. The ship had 55 caliber guns and 3x3 mounts. This means 3 guns and 3 separate turrets mounted on the ship. The cruiser also had 25 caliber cannons as well as 50 caliber machine guns to defend against air attacks. When the ship was fully loaded, the displacement was 12,755 tons. In order to preserve the ability to be nimble, only light armor was applied to the cruiser because cruisers need to be able to escape confrontations, unlike battleships which rely strictly on armor. Relation to theme: Revolution, Reaction, and Reform. Our history topic, the sinking of the USS Indianapolis, is a perfect example of a topic that fits this year's theme of revolution, reaction, and reform. The sinking of the USS Indianapolis fits the theme of reform because of the miscommunication between the captain of the ship, Captain McVeigh, and the naval authorities. When the cruiser was to return back from delivering the bomb to Tinian, an island near Guam, the naval authorities failed to tell McVeigh about reports of a submarine lurking in the cruiser's path. When the USS Indianapolis was being attacked, the naval authorities did not act quickly to the distress signals, taking them for some sort of mistake. The naval authorities blamed this mistake on the heavy cruiser's failure to depart on time. This costly miscommunication resulted in the loss of the ship. Because of the miscommunication, a reform of the caution used with vessel communication was drastically increased. No distress signal was ever taken lightly, and the Navy kept track of every vessel. The USS Indianapolis fits the theme of reaction because of the way the public reacted to the event. The United States was shocked by the event, which came as a total surprise because the general public was not aware of what the USS Indianapolis was delivering until after the events unfolded. In fact, the U.S. government did not tell the public that the Indianapolis had been torpedoed and lost until a week or 2 after it happened, because the newly elected president, Harry Truman, wanted to incorporate the fact that Japan had surrendered into the news to sort of sweeten the news that the Indianapolis was lost. The general public was obviously shocked and saddened by the news, which fueled the hatred toward the Japanese even more. The sinking of the USS Indianapolis ties into revolution because the sinking of the USS Indianapolis made many of the U.S. citizens very angry, which caused the paranoia of Japanese spies lurking in the USA. This eventually called for a revolution of the American social structure by placing Japanese Americans in internment camps. Although it played a role, the sinking of the USS Indianapolis was not the sole cause of the placing of Japanese in internment camps. The main reason was the bombings of Pearl Harbor. The sinking of the USS Indianapolis was another additive to keep the Japanese Americans in internment camps while the war was taking place. Propaganda played a large role in the placing of the Japanese Americans into internment camps. Propaganda spread a lot of biased information to the general public. Memorial. The USS Indianapolis Memorial is located on the Canal Walk in Indianapolis. On the memorial, the crew members' names are listed, and a model of the ship was recreated in granite and limestone. In 2011, Interstate 465 was renamed USS Indianapolis Memorial Highway in honor of the ship. The event was portrayed in various TV shows and movies, such as in the famous thriller film Jaws, when it is found out that a character had survived the sinking of the USS Indianapolis. There have also been many educational programs made regarding the event, as well as a television movie which reenacted the event.